So I'm starting to think we might be wrong about Real Housewives of New York, the new era, the cast that isn't really taking off maybe the way that we thought. I kind of feel like it has been too much chatter about just how bad the second season for them is. Obviously, this is not the second season, but it's the new era, this new cast. It's their second season together, and the first season did do really well, but the second seems to not really do well. Nobody has found enjoyment with it, and then a prank, and then that didn't work, and et cetera, et cetera. But then I'm thinking, maybe, even though the general opinion is yes, this cast is gotta go. Bring back Dorinda, Luann, Sonia, even Ramona could come through. But I feel like that's already been done, and as much as I want to see like a Jill Zarin and a Kelly Ben Simone back in the mix, I feel like once the decision was made to stop the original Real Housewives of New York, the original cast, more like the legacy cast, it was either they went through with their original announcement, which was there was going to be two series. There was going to be the new era and the legacy. The legacy never really happened. Obviously, there was the girls' trip, but the legacy sort of went away. I feel like, yes, still give a legacy season with the Luann, with Dorinda, you bring in Heather. Like, it really doesn't matter. But I do think there could be a version of the legacy Real Housewives of New York cast, because they do really well. You know, take them to the Berkshires. Like, I feel like there's something there. But I kind of wanted to break down and say, like, are we all wrong? And when I say we all, there's not very many times that a general opinion of a show that we like when we're watching unscripted reality TV, where everyone's like, ooh, are you watching Real Housewives of New York season 2? It's not going that well. And again, I know this is not season 2. This is their version of season 2, the new era cast, you know, with Brynn and Sai and Aaron and Jenna and Jessel and everybody. And Uba and Raquel and yeah, that's the cast, right? But as I'm thinking about it, I feel like there is still potential. I don't know if it's just this element of like, okay, I'm kind of feeling like, is there hope, or are now they like the underdogs? Because I really did break it down, and I do think that you've got a couple cast members that potentially will go the extra mile to make sure this show does work. So what I'll say is the people that I think are in the driver's seat for this cast of the new era, and again, I am making an opinion. It very rarely happens. It's kind of like when you talk about New Housewives of New Jersey. It's like, I love Teresa, I love Melissa, I love Teresa, I love Melissa. But there's very few times that a franchise on reality TV where everyone's like, ooh, are you watching the second season of New York? But I feel like, okay, here's a couple things. I think the commentary of like, oh, it's just, it looks nice and it's glossy and it's fashion, like, but it needs to be more. I feel like that's half the battle though. So let's not forget how wonderful and how important that is, because we've had times where certain shows didn't really give the city element to it, you know, didn't really give the vibe. So they're giving the vibes, they're giving the fashion. I think that is great, but they are definitely going to have to do more. Where the more is going to come from is, okay, let me tell you who I think is kind of working already. I actually think Sai is working already. I think Aaron is working already, and I think Raquel potentially is working already. The reason I say potentially is because Raquel is, of course, new. Now, where we get into a moment is with somebody like Brynn. Now, I'm not going to call nobody desperate, because boy, work is difficult. You know, I'll be the first one to tell you that. You know, careers are whatever. So I'm just saying, Brynn, as much as she's getting the bad rap on the season for stirring the pot and, you know, it's too calculated, what's to say she doesn't have other tricks up her sleeve, you know? And it just reminds me of that era where Brynn will find herself in some type of fortunate situation, and, you know, the phone calls, the TMZ, they'll happen, and suddenly all the attention will come onto Real Housewives of New York. Now, I'm not saying Brynn is going to do that, but I'm not saying Brynn is away from doing that. That's number one. Number two is Jessel. Now, I don't mean to say this in a negative way, just like I didn't mean to say what I said about Brynn in a negative way, but Jessel is she's on the intersection of like thirsty and delusional. But that charm in season 1 did work. I feel like it would be so silly to get rid of Jessel. And I also feel like what I was saying about being thirsty is that's actually a good thing for the show, because Jessel will find a way to be just thirsty enough. That's the good and the bad thing. Sometimes you have these cast members that are really wonderful, or even people you interact with, right? They're really wonderful, but sometimes people are too cool for the room. Jessel and her husband, they are not. They are not too cool for the room, and they enjoy doing this. I feel like Jessel kind of has a little bit, not personality wise, but a little bit like Dorinda. Once Dorinda got involved in all this stuff, now Dorinda had a great life, you know, lots of things too, but a great life before coming onto the show. But there was no way that she didn't miss being on the show. And I feel like Jessel is so plugged in. So she has to have a season 3. And I feel like she's just, like I said, on the corner of delusional and thirsty. And if you mix those two up, I don't see her not finding the right opportunity. And I don't know what that will be. I don't know if that's her trying to befriend somebody and that raises her cachet. And I know things like that don't necessarily matter towards the show, especially for me. I don't really see that. But I know that sometimes, you know, it's kind of like Jessel's the type that will find a way to have Rihanna tweet her or something like that, or Instagram her, or TikTok her, or, you know, Snapchat her or whatever. And then that kind of becomes like a moment. Like, I don't know, Jessel's the type with her marketing background at that, she will find that way. And sometimes that is sort of enough to raise the profile. Again, I don't look at stuff like that too much. In fact, if anything I would think about with Jessel is that I liked that in her season 1, like when she did throw her event, there was all the finest people in fashion and photography, you know, by way of the connections with her uncle. I liked that, but she still will be thirsty, and that's a good thing for this show. So again, Sai, I feel like she's got it. Raquel, I feel like she's got it. Aaron, I just want to be constantly, we need to follow Aaron. Now, my bias with Aaron is, of course, when Watch What Happens Live did the very first Real Housewives of New York show, Aaron was the very first. She was the lead. She was the lead guest, and I got to do the virtual caller. And so for me, I'm always kind of like, just more like, oh, let's keep following Aaron. Aaron is great because there's some notion of like, oh, is she like the Ramona? I don't think it's that deep, but I think Aaron does continue to make mistakes and does continue to kind of show up for herself. It's a very interesting thing because her tagline was like, oh, I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. And a lot of times when you watch Aaron, she really doesn't let off that tenacity. She actually lets off the focus of that tenacity, like I'm a hard New Yorker, but like she really kind of is soft and gets really down on herself and is sad and frustrated, and you know, but it's a mix. And I think Aaron is worth the watch. So Aaron, Sai, and Raquel, I'm giving, if I was, you know, wave a magic wand and making it all happen, boom, if I was doing that, I'd bring them back. Jenna's probably the most confusing person, but I would not necessarily scrap her either, because Jenna did a really good job. I loved the HBO series that she did, and I feel like even if she's not bringing it, let's say, who's to say she has to? That's another thing about it. You got to remember that with Jenna, she just has such a... She has, I don't want to say she has more to lose, but like, let's put her up against Brynn. No diss whatsoever, but Brynn, again, she's willing to do anything for the show. Jenna doesn't need to kind of do that, and I feel like that is kind of being labeled as like, oh, she's boring. I don't think Jenna's boring, but while I would put her as a part-timer, much like Marlo used to say, although Marlo said it from Atlanta, Marlo just said it because she thought, I don't know, she's trying to make it like being a part-timer was better than being a full-timer, but there is a truth to that. Be a part of the show. What did Marlo say? You do half as much, but you, well, she didn't say you make just as much, but it was something like being a part-timer is actually okay, which I honestly, if I was Jenna and it wasn't really fitting in, I would say go to part-time. You still get to be in the mix. You still get to promote your products. You still add a level of, this is the Jenna Lyons in New York City and all that you've contributed into the fashion world, you know. So I wouldn't get rid of her, but I feel like it's a really funny thing because I feel like there's such a critique of like Jenna's got to do more and she's got to share more and this and that. No, she doesn't. I don't think she does. I don't think that she does. I think she is willing, as you saw, she didn't go to the BravoCon. She's willing to sort of not walk, but she's not willing to do what she doesn't want to do. And there's something very special about that. So again, I would take Jenna to part-time unless she wanted to do full-time, but it doesn't seem like she does, which is also okay. Uba, I'm on the fence with. Uba, I feel like I'm ready for more story with Uba. She might even be somebody I would go to part-timer. But the ones that thrill me the most right now are Sai, Raquel, and Aaron. And Aaron is because I just like keep the camera rolling, you know, because we just don't know what we're gonna see. And with Aaron, it's the type of person that it's like, I mean, Aaron from her season 1 to her season 8, like I just feel like so much is going to go on, and that might be kind of interesting. So anyways, this episode was just about like, are we wrong? Maybe collectively everyone's like, oh, scrap it, season 2 is terrible. I don't know, maybe it's not that terrible. I always, and this is the bias because of course I love New York City, I always want to see a New York City show go. You know, when Blood, Sweat, and Heels was on, that had one big season, and then season 2, it went downhill so quickly. I'm trying to think of the other New York shows. There was the chef show with Chef Robley, I think his name was. Oh my God, remember he was the one who introduced Kenya to Mark, Kenya's husband. Not husband. So I just feel like there's something worth the while to hold on to. But at first in my head I was thinking, oh, keep the show going, keep half of the newbies in the new era, and bring in like the Luann and the Dorindas to kind of make it work. But I feel like you need to let this cast materialize. So I don't know, my decision may change tomorrow, but after hearing and seeing such a, you know, Instagram sure loves to have every bit of commentary, and it's like, oh, New York season 2 is the worst ever, how to fix it. I don't know, just stay with it, stick with it. If you really break it down, they're not that uninteresting. Maybe the storylines felt a little too, you know, you do season 1, you start to anticipate what that's going to look like on season 2. It is the sophomore slump. I just think if you break them down individually, most of them, there's enough to go around, and I would certainly bet on them, you know. And it sounds like Bravo or Andy Cohen isn't really wavering. So I don't know. It's one of those things where if you give them a third season, really buckle down, you might get something out of it. Now, what I used to say was add somebody, because again, this is not saying I don't want to see Luann. This is not saying I don't want to see Sonia, Dorinda, and all Jill. I would love to see Bethany even back. But I also think that because that wasn't the choice officially from the beginning and it was about New Era, I think they should establish New Era. With that being said, some of the other cast members on, you know, when I, of course, do a podcast here, I mentioned that at one time I thought like an Adrienne Bailon should join the show. I don't know that I really feel that anymore. I once said that Amber Sabathia, you know, is the wife of Cece Sabathia, you know, was a big time Yankee. I think he is retired at the moment, but like just kind of big in New York City energy. And I thought Amber Sabathia is kind of like perfect for that fit. But she might be in Jersey actually. But the point is, who I really want. Do you remember the city? Olivia Palermo. I always say Olivia Palermo needs to come in there, and she needs to be the ice queen that she is. It feels like it would have made sense for her because she's doing enough on, like, it's like her life is, you know, it's not held up at all. It's going. But if you can get Olivia Palermo and just come in and just ask the questions. You know, that was the thing about Olivia when she was on The City. It was like she was a little on the rude side, but she would ask the questions. So if you put her with this type of group, I feel like she would have a certain demeanor that would really sort of check some of these pranks or whatever. Oh, and we didn't even bring up Rebecca. I'm not saying Rebecca good, bad, or otherwise. I just forgot about Rebecca, so that's not a bad thing. I think Rebecca, she makes fine. You know, the purse is her line is a fine line. You know, I think it's, what did Bryn say was that Nordstrom rack? It's not a Nordstrom rack, but you get it. It's you know, good on her, Rebecca, for the work that you do. But maybe the show isn't really fitting, and that is also okay. But I would say, yeah, bring in Olivia Palermo. Who was the gal that Tinsley, Deborah, was it? Dorinda also knew her, I believe. Because Tinsley in the not even from Housewives of New York, because I didn't really ever like her on that, but her show that she had on the CW, I did like that, and I liked the component of some of those cast members. So maybe there's something there to visit. I don't know, but the notion of like just simply being so cold and being like, season 2 of Real Housewives of New York, New era, wash them off completely. Don't give them another chance. I don't know. Don't we believe in chances? Because here's the thing though too. If we cut them and only do one or two things, bring in the legacy, the Dorindas, the Luanns, the, Ramonas and Bethany's, you're kind of setting a precedent also, like never giving a chance for anything to materialize. This is a new batch of talent. Let them get their shot. It's the same way, like sometimes I get frustrated, even though it works sometimes, like Lisa Rinna. Lisa Rinna is a name, and then she went on Beverly Hills, and it worked out well. But I always, sometimes I'm like, does it always have to be a name? Sometimes it's like, let the cast member materialize. We didn't know who a Dorinda was. We didn't know who Ramona was. We didn't know who Bethany was. And I feel like those days are kind of going away. So if we wash off season 2, their season 2, New Era, if we wash it off so quickly, I fear that what are we going to do? We're going to just go to chat GPT and find out who rates the highest and just throw 6 new people or 7 or 8 new people together. I don't think that's going to work either. I say you bet on what you already have. You just got to maneuver it a little differently. You got to find Bryn. Bryn reminds me of the day. If this was the day when Derek Jeter was really moving around, I feel like Bryn would be right there dating Derek Jeter, if you could follow the era that I'm talking about. So I don't know, maybe there's something there, and I know that Bryn, it does feel like she's trying to sort of be this like Sex and the City caricature, but I mean, thinking back in the day, it was, what was it? Derek Jeter was Minka Kelly, Madonna, Vanessa Manillo, like, it was almost like if you wanted to make Page Six, obviously like things don't work like that as much anymore. Like Page Six isn't what it used to be to that degree. I mean, it's still something, but you were in the mix, let's say. And I know I'm probably throwing my words all around, but I'm saying I think that Bryn is very much willing and ready to be in the mix. So so we just gotta find out who is in the New York City mix, and I don't know, just point her in the right direction. Just don't point her towards Harry Dubin. No Harry Dubin for Bryn, but you get what I'm saying. Like she wants to tell a story, romantic or otherwise. So I don't know, it could be fun. Like I said, follow Bryn and follow that story. Find the little nuances that make Jessel so delusional slash what was the word I said? I said she's on the intersection of delusional and thirsty, but in the best possible way. The best possible way. A lot of people are too cool for the room. Jessel is not, and I like that. So yeah, say what you say. Jessel had a great first season, and it's not really happening her second season, but I don't know. Give her the shot. And Erin, just give. She's the first one that should get a spinoff on Real Housewives of New York. But I don't know. I would hate to see what they've put into the show. And yeah, like Bethany goes online and she's like, ha, no one likes the show. Okay, wonderful. Great. But what's in front of you right now in terms of like the network and the cast is to show up and make a great show. And I really want to be one of the few people, and I could change my mind tomorrow or in 15 seconds, but I want to be one of the few people that's like, no, Sai is gonna, she's gonna hit her home run. Raquel is going to step up to the plate. I don't know why I'm using baseball terminology. I'm talking about Derek Jeter, and it had me thinking of Mariah Carey, and like I said, Minka, what was it from Friday Night Lights, and that whole era. So I lost it all. My mind went elsewhere. Wasn't that an era? Oh, that was an era. That was the old era. But now we're focusing on Real Housewives of New York, the new era. I don't know. Are we completely done with the season 2, their season 2 of Ronnie? I don't know. I'm like, find a way. Get through the little roadblocks and find a way, because that's the thing. I want that to be for everyone in their own lives and their own careers. You wouldn't want it like in your own creative or ambitious aspiration, where if things don't go right, someone just throws you, there's the door, Shannon Bedore. You don't want that. You kind of sometimes want, okay, I'm going to move, I'm going to shift, I'm going to pivot, and it's going to work out. Like I said, the main thing I think we got to look at is, does Jenna still want to do the show in a full-time capacity? But don't get rid of her. Keep her on as part-time. Keep her as just part of that show. She still does ring some bells, and keep her where she doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting, but is still part of the group. Bring in 1 or 2 new people, specifically Olivia Palermo. You throw her all the money that you can and have her walk in there kind of judging people. And I'm not saying Carol judged people, but remember how Carol was always like, well, wait, what? Huh? What? We need that. I mean, might as well just bring Carol back in there. But again, I'm trying to, as a viewer of this show, to hope that the cast that was selected wins. Yeah, I want to see Ebony K. Williams back on the show. I want to see Ebony K. Williams do a Blood, Sweat, and Hills. Was the show that did really good 2 seasons. I want to see her get her version of that show. But sometimes we have got to not always go back to what we already know. That's like a big thing. Don't you ever get tired? You're like, oh, why is it, what's showing in the movies or whatever? Well, that's such an old terminology, but everything is already reboot. This is technically a reboot of sorts, but like, it's a fresh idea. Let these cast members, let them rock out. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise, we're just going to keep recycling ideas. I don't want that. And I wouldn't want that for a lot of the shows. I would hope that the network Bravo and Universal, NBC Universal keeps trying things, not giving up on things. You know, Family Karma, is it coming back? Summer House Martha's Vineyard, is it coming back? I would love it if the network believed in shows and sort of fought for shows. And I know business doesn't work that way, but we have seen the void that Miami gave, and then it came back, and Miami literally might be one of the best franchises. I know Salt Lake City does very well. Potomac is having a moment. I don't know. What do we do with Real Housewives of New York? And is the easy answer, bring Dorinda and Luann back? I mean, that does sound good. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But I feel like maybe we just, as fans and as viewers, we stop nitpicking the show and saying, oh, they did this, they did that, but start enjoying it. Because again, I could watch an Aaron scene and enjoy it. Sai has been hysterical to me. That dry, but also she's so, she just moves in a very interesting way. I like it. And Raquel has been the one that I've got my eye on. I'm like, what is this? Let's see more. Anyways, I guess I would say the only thing that you would do if you brought in somebody of a name stature would be move Kenya Moore from Atlanta to New York. But I mean, I can't have all my dreams and wishes come true. Anyways, what do you think? Real Housewives of New York, the new era, are we sticking with them or are we giving them the boot?
Hey, Ronnie Jr.